Welcome to Resourceby's overtime settings. This is one of the most important modules for managing how you calculate and pay overtime to your employees. Overtime settings allow you to create custom pay codes, define overtime policies, assign policies to specific employees, and set hourly rates. Let's explore each section in detail. To access overtime settings, navigate to Settings in your left sidebar, then click on Overtime Settings. At the top of the page, you'll see an information banner that explains a pay code is a special label used to manage overtime pay and set the rates for an employee's extra hours. This is the foundation of your overtime system. The Overtime Settings page has 4 main tabs: Pay Code, Overtime Policy Employee, and Employee Hourly Rate. Let's walk through each one. First, let's look at the Pay Code tab. This is where you create the different types of overtime pay rates your company uses. When you first access this tab, you'll see a message saying Pay Code Not Added, which means you haven't created any pay codes yet. To create your first pay code, click the yellow Add New Pay Code button at the top. A pop-up window will appear titled Add Code Name. Here you'll configure your overtime pay code. The first field is Pay Code Name, which is required and marked with a red asterisk. This is a descriptive name for your pay code, such as weekend overtime or public holiday premium. The second required field is Pay Code, which is typically a short code or abbreviation like WEOT or PHPRIM. Next, you'll see the Rate Type option with a radio button labeled Times. This determines how the overtime rate is calculated as a multiple of the regular hourly rate. Below this is the crucial Overtime Rates section with the subtitle Overtime Calculation will be. The Overtime Rate section has 3 important fields. Regular rate is a multiplier for standard overtime hours. The default example shows 1.0 times, which means regular overtime is paid at the employee's normal hourly rate. Holiday rate applies when overtime is worked on holidays. The example shows 2.0 times, meaning double pay for holiday overtime. Day off rate is for overtime worked on scheduled days off, shown in the example as 1.75 times, or time and 3/4 pay. Each of these rates can be customized to match your company's overtime policy and South African labor law requirements. At the bottom of the pop-up, there's a description text area where you can add notes about when this pay code should be used or any special conditions that apply. Once you've configured all the details, click the yellow Save button to create your pay code or click Cancel to discard changes. Now let's move to the second tab, Overtime Policy. This is where you create rules about when and how overtime should be applied. When you first access this tab, you'll see Overtime Policy Not Found because no policies have been created yet. Click the yellow Add New Overtime Policy button to create one. An overtime policy links your pay codes to specific conditions and rules. The table shows columns for name, pay code, allows, and action. The name is what you'll call this policy, such as Standard Overtime Policy or Holiday Overtime Policy. The pay code column shows which pay code from the first tab this policy uses. The allows column would specify any special conditions or permissions, and the action column provides options to edit or delete the policy. The third tab is Overtime Policy Employee. This is where you assign your overtime policies to specific employees or groups of employees. At the top, you'll see an employee drop-down menu currently set to all, which lets you filter the employee list. Next to it is a search box where you can type to search for specific employees. Below this, you'll see a table listing your employees with checkboxes, profile pictures, names, and job titles. In the example shown, you can see Mr. Malusi Puling, who works as a farm technician, and Mr. Alex Mattit with a small badge saying it next to his name, showing he's a director. Each employee has their assigned overtime policy displayed in the Overtime Policy column. To assign a policy to an employee, you would select the checkbox next to their name and choose the appropriate policy from a dropdown. The bottom of the screen shows pagination controls and indicates showing 1 to 2 of 2 entries. The fourth and final tab is Employee Hourly Rate. This is where you set the base hourly rate for each employee. which is used as the foundation for calculating overtime pay. The layout is similar to the Overtime Policy Employee tab, with the same employee drop-down set to all and the search functionality. The employee list shows the same information, with profile pictures, names, and positions, but this time the important column is hourly rate, R, where it stands for South African Rand. This is where you would enter each employee's hourly rate. For example, if an employee earns 150 Rand per hour as their base rate, you would enter 150 in their hourly rate field. When overtime is calculated using your pay codes, the system will multiply this hourly rate by the overtime multiplier you set earlier. At the bottom of the Employee Hourly Rate tab, you'll see a yellow Save button. This is important. After entering or updating hourly rates for your employees, you must click Save to apply the changes. The system also shows pagination controls for navigating through larger employee lists. To summarize the complete overtime workflow, first, create pay codes in the Pay Code tab with specific rate multipliers for regular, holiday, and day off overtime. Second, create overtime policies in the Overtime Policy tab that define when and how those pay codes should be applied. Third, assign those policies to specific employees in the Overtime Policy Employee tab. Finally, set the base hourly rates for each employee in the Employee Hourly Rate tab. Once all four components are configured, Resourceby can automatically calculate correct overtime payments based on your company's rules and South African labor regulations. This comprehensive overtime system ensures accurate payroll processing, compliance with labor laws, and fair compensation for your employees' extra hours worked. That's all for overtime settings.